I feel like a lot of Nintendo fans kind of just wrote off the Switch in 2024. Maybe that's just due to the expectation that the Switch 2 would release this year. Maybe that's because the first half of the year was very heavy weighted by remakes and remasters. But now that we have a more complete picture of Nintendo's lineup in 2024 for the Nintendo Switch, I gotta be honest, when you really take a look at it, this year really isn't any worse than a lot of other years of the Switch. In fact, I would argue that this year potentially could end up being better if the games releasing in the second half actually deliver some really good experiences. Let's talk about it. Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Today, I wanted to take another look at Nintendo's 2024 lineup. Now that we have Famicom Detective Club, Emio the Smiling Man, now that we have that revealed, we have what I imagine is a basically complete picture of Nintendo's software lineup in 2024. I posted this on Twitter, but I could see maybe one smaller thing sneaking in a potential September Direct, be that Metroid Prime 2 and 3, maybe an eShop only Kirby game. We're due for a Kirby game. Something smaller in a September Direct kind of shadow dropped could make sense, but in terms of their retail releases, I imagine we are probably looking at the complete picture for Nintendo in 2024. And like I said at the top of the video, it's really not that bad. I think a lot of the pessimism came from the fact that Nintendo's scheduling was very weird this year, where the first half was very outweighed by remakes and remasters, but when you get to the second half of the year, the part we're in now, it's only new games, which is kind of weird that they did that. But if you actually take a look at the next 6 months of releases from Nintendo, it's all new games, and honestly, a lot of these could end up being some of my favorite Nintendo Switch games. Some of these could end up being the best Nintendo Switch games, like top 10 list tier material for Nintendo, which is crazy considering the Switch is in its 8th year of life. But let's start talking about what we already had released and kind of just go from there, right? So starting in January, we had another Code Recollection, which was a full remake collection of the DS and Wii game Trace Memory in the US. Good collection in my opinion. I enjoyed it. Kind of visual novel-esque. So we got 2 of those this year, which is a little funny, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Cool to see them reviving that IP. Then in February, we had Mario vs. DK, as well as Splatoon 3 Side Order. Once again, kind of a lower fi remake, remaster, lower budget game, as well as a pretty nice expansion to Splatoon 3, although I'm not really counting that in the numbering here. But then we had, in March, Princess Peach Showtime, another game that didn't review all too well, but was an original game, our first new game of the year. And then in May, we had 2 games with Endless Ocean Luminous, another kind of low reviewing game, as well as Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Remake, which is actually, as of right now, still their highest reviewed game of 2024. And then in June, we had Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, another game that didn't review particularly great for what it is. So the first half of the year was very weighted by remakes. Like I said, only 2 new games, one of them being Endless Ocean, which is similar to Another Code. Very cool to see Nintendo bring back, but at the same time, it's like, it's not going to be for everybody. That is a very niche game. Niche by Nintendo weird IP standards, I would say. Like Golden Sun or Advance Wars, like those games are niche. I feel like Endless Ocean is like another tier of niche. Maybe it could have hit some sort of like TikTok zeitgeist or something, but that simply didn't happen. So first half of the year, I would say was fine. There was enough quantity. Maybe the quality should have been better, you know, that would have been nice, but I'm fine with the first half of the year. But then we get into the second half of the year, and it really starts shaping up. So in July, actually yesterday when I'm posting this, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition is releasing. You can kind of count this as a new game. If you don't want to count it as a new game, though, honestly, I wouldn't blame you. Like, objectively, it is a new game, but also it's like an NES game, so I don't know. This one is neither here nor there. Once again, the reviews weren't great for it, but I'm kind of curious about it. I'll check it out when my copy inevitably comes from GameStop, busted and broken and shipping in like 3 weeks. But then in August, we have the new Famicom Detective Club game that was just revealed on Wednesday, Emio the Smiling Man. Pretty excited for this. The more I think about it, the more I'm actually pretty stoked at the idea of Nintendo letting Sakamoto and his team and the team over at Mages take on a brand new, much darker Famicom Detective Club. Nintendo hasn't really released a new visual novel. I don't even know the last time they released a new visual novel. I mean, it's been a very long time. So I'm definitely intrigued by this one. I need to go back and play the first 2 remakes on Switch and finish those up, because I started the first game, but I never finished it. But the story that they're kind of pitching here with the Smiling Man and how he gets girls that are sad to like do awful things, like I'm intrigued by it, I'll say the least. I'm very intrigued by this game, especially coming out of Nintendo and one of their in-house developers. But then we also have September with Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, this needs no introduction. This kind of has the potential to be Nintendo's game of the year. Frankly, I'd be kind of surprised if it's not the best game they released this year. This is Grezzo's first time working on a wholly original single-player Zelda game, so I'll be curious to see how that balances out, but definitely very excited for this. A new take on the 2D Zelda formula where you're playing as her, conjuring up items. I'm definitely intrigued by this, and I imagine that'll be their best reviewed game of the year. Unless our next game, Mario Party Jamboree, is just an absolute banger. But honestly, Super Mario Party Jamboree releasing in October, I'm pretty excited for this as well. Super Mario Party, I feel like gets a little bit of a bad rap. I think that game did a lot more positive for the series than people like to give it credit for. Mario Party Superstars is better, but I think a new Mario Party, given what they've learned from Super Mario Party and Superstars, a new Mario Party is just a recipe for success at this point. I don't really see how Indie Cube could mess that up. So that, by all accounts, frankly, should be the best Mario Party. So I'm very excited to try out that. And then finally in November, we have Mario and Luigi Brothership, which playing through Mario and Luigi right now, very excited for that now. And I mean, the game looks great. There's some things about like the music and the UI I know people are nitpicking, but that should be a pretty good release in November. So in total, assuming there's no other surprises from Nintendo, that is 11 games released this year. 4 remasters and 7 new games. That breakdown is crazy to me because I remember after the September Direct last year, everybody was freaking out saying, oh my goodness, Nintendo's only releasing remasters and remakes in 2024. That's why a lot of people thought the Switch 2 was coming out in 2024. But when you actually look at what we're getting in the second half, I think it becomes painfully obvious that the Switch 2 was never even intended to be released this year because of how much they have in the second half. The scheduling is weird, it's unbalanced, and it made the year kind of feel worse than it actually is as we were going through it, because those first 6 months, yes, there was quantity, but there wasn't really quality, like that high quality that we expect from Nintendo. None of those games were bad, they were all fine, they were fun, but there was nothing that like was really groundbreaking. Last year, maybe we had Tears of the Kingdom, man. In that same time frame, we had the Xenoblade 3 DLC and Kirby's Return to Dreamland and Metroid Prime Remastered. I mean, and those are remakes and remasters too, but usually the first half of the year has a game that's a bit higher quality. I think this year they thought that would be Princess Peach Showtime, but that simply wasn't the case. A lot of people kind of just, once again, wrote off that game being a little kid's game, that kind of thing. It's very easy, so it wasn't the game that I think the Switch needed in its first half. But if you look at the second half, I mean, if they just balance this better, like let's say if Mario and Luigi had released in March or something, and then maybe you just move Mario vs. DK to November or something like that, like it would have just made this entire release calendar feel a lot more balanced. But I mean, 4 remasters versus 7 new games, that's really not that bad, especially when you look at other years of the Switch. I mean, people were saying this was a remake heavy year. Guys, 2023 had more remakes and less new games than this. Can you believe that? I kinda can't, but it's true. But it really all does depend on the quality of these new games releasing in the second half, and that'll be the determining factor of whether or not 2024 was a good year or a bad year for the Switch. In terms of quantity, I think it's safe to say that this was a good year, but in terms of quality, the first half, a lot of low Metacritic scores. I know Metacritic isn't everything, but it is just a nice kind of barometer for general consensus on a game. If Zelda Echoes of Wisdom and Mario Party and Mario and Luigi and Emio the Smiling Man, if these games come out and all score 7 out of 10, then yeah, I think you could probably say that 2024 was the worst year of Switch because there wasn't that big, major, really high-quality game. But I just don't see a scenario where Echoes of Wisdom and Mario and Luigi and Mario Party come out and they're anything less than great. I look at this year a lot like I looked at 2021, which was a year following COVID, so they were kind of scrambling to get everything together. 2020, in my opinion, is still the worst year of Switch, but in 2021, we had the first half of the year, which was like Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Maybe you can kind of equate that to the release of Princess Peach Showtime or something. Then we had new Pokemon Snap, which kind of is an analog to Endless Ocean Luminous. We had the remakes of Famicom Detective Club. We had Mario Party Superstars. We had stuff like Miitopia and Nintendo publishing Bravely Default 2. We had that DC Superhero Girls Team Power, Game Builder Garage. I'm looking at the list here. Mario Golf Super Rush, Skyward Sword HD, very good. Obviously, Metroid Dread being the biggest game released in 2021 for me personally. Definitely the highest quality game they released that year. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. This year we have no Pokemon. If you added a Pokemon on this lineup, I really think it wouldn't really be an issue at all. People wouldn't really be complaining, but I don't know. It's just something to think about. I love ranking years of Nintendo Switch. I think it's a very fun thing to do. And when you actually look at this year, once again, we'll have to wait and see the quality of the stuff releasing in the second half. But when you actually take a look at it, not in the moment, and just kind of analyze the entire year month by month, it's really no different, no worse, no better than a lot of other years of the Nintendo Switch. So with that all said, I'm very excited for the upcoming slates of games. Like I said, I might try to play through the remakes of Famicom Detective Club, of course, Echoes of Wisdom, Mario Party Jamboree, Mario and Luigi, day one on all of those. Very excited for those. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. In my opinion, 2024 has just gotten better. You know, in the first half of the year, it's like, oh, this is kind of bad. Then we get Endless Ocean. It's like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. That's like a new surprising May game. Then Thousand Year Door and Luigi's Mansion 2 released, I think, a lot sooner than a lot of us expected. Then we got the June Direct, which laid out a ton of games. And then we got the surprise announcement of this new Famicom Detective Club game. And it's just like, man, Nintendo keeps surprising us with new games. Like I said earlier, maybe there's a chance we get another game announced in the September Direct. Maybe that gets Shadow Drop. Maybe it gets a physical release in December. We don't have a game for December right now. They don't always have one, but we don't normally have an August game either, and we got one this year. So, I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. I think 2024 could end up being one of the maybe even top half years of the Nintendo Switch. Call me crazy, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, discussions, all of that fun stuff. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, and until next time, folks, peace.